Hello, everyone. My name is Anusa, and I'm here from Penmore Benefits on our retirement side. And I am delighted to welcome you all to today's presentation about the importance of having a financial plan. Our guest speaker today is a distinguished expert in the field, Kyle Grooms. He is also a financial advisor at our Penmore Financial Division. So Kyle brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he will guide us through the significance of having a solid financial plan. Especially in today's rapidly changing financial landscape, his insights will be invaluable. Throughout Kyle's presentation, I encourage each of you to actively engage by writing your questions in the chat. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end to address all your inquiries. So without further ado, let's welcome Kyle Grooms to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Anissa. I appreciate the introduction. Very happy to be here. And you're in control of the slides, so we'll go ahead. So for the folks on the call, today we have a good amount of information to go through. As you can see, we're going to look at Financial Planning 101. We'll look at aspects of a financial plan, so we'll pin down a little bit more detail. We'll go into what do you need to start a financial plan? So what type of information is gathered? We'll look at an example of a plan, or at least the table of contents of a plan. You'll see they're quite lengthy, but you'll also see how a way to simplify these plans. So we'll show you both. And I also have an example of a concrete example that we've used with a specific client of how a plan can really help their cash flow in retirement. So more to that. And as Anusa said, we will have some time for questions near the end. So go ahead, Anusa. So 101 financial planning. So on the next slide, what we're going to see is when the first ages that pop up here are going to be 30 to 65. That's not to say that you can't start your financial planning earlier. In fact, a lot of people might. However, it might be taken care of by your parents, whether it's through an RESP. And another vehicle that can help parents save for their kids, or sometimes their grandparents might help, is a whole life policy. Some of you folks might have heard about this. It's just a life insurance policy. The advantage is there's some cash value associated with these policies, and the cash value can grow on a tax-deferred basis. There's not a lot of vehicles in Canada to help a very young person. They can't set up a tax-free savings account if they're under 18. So this is one of the vehicles you can use to help a younger person build up some wealth. And it's a great vehicle when you get older to utilize as well. However, we bring up the age 30 to 65 because within these ages, we find this is when a lot of Canadians start to look at their financial planning needs. And Anusa, if you go ahead there, what you're going to see is we find that these three M's come up around the age 30, give or take a couple of years. These M's include a marriage, a mortgage, and munchkins. And when these M's come up, your responsibilities increase. I can tell you because I have all three M's, and before I had these three, before I met Brenda, before I had my daughter Penelope and a mortgage, I didn't have as many responsibilities for sure. Now, when these three come up, what we can look to do in a financial plan is to make sure that you're taken care of if something goes wrong here. And what I mean by that is if you pass away early, or if you get disabled or you're ill and you're unable to work. And Anusa, if you go ahead there, what you folks are going to see on the slide are these three different types of insurance that can really help your family out if you can't work due to an illness, a sickness, or God forbid you passed away early. Now, a lot of the group insurance plans, so a lot of the folks on the call will have some sort of coverage that's provided via your employer. What we find is once a client tells me exactly what they would want to have happen, if they were disabled, if they were diagnosed with cancer, let's say, or if they were to pass away early, usually the amount in your group insurance plan is not enough. It's a good start. So we'll help to integrate those via financial plan to make sure that if any of these three things happen, you're either taken care of if you're still here, or your family's taken care of if unfortunately you're not here to take care of them financially. Now, This is what we would consider your defensive planning. So if you go ahead in NUSA, you'll see defense come up. And if you go a bit further, what a lot of people on the call are probably looking to discuss is more the fun part of financial planning, you could say, which is the investing. So utilizing all the different accounts that we have access to as Canadians, such as an RRSP, a tax-free savings account, in some of your pension plans that you might have on the call, these could be referred to as RPP accounts or DPSP accounts, LIRAs. All these different types of accounts are tax advantage accounts that we want to take advantage of. Real estate's on there as well. I know it's in the news quite a bit that real estate's tough to get in if you're a young person. It is, there's no doubt about it. However, those who are in real estate have done very well the last little, well, really in the Toronto area, where I'm from, real estate's done very well for a very long time. We say corporate assets because some on the call might have either had a corporation before, they might have a corporation in the future, or you might have a spouse or a child who has a corporation. Because corporations are taxed at a lower rate, investing retirement money within a corporation can be very advantageous as well. Now, eventually, you don't want to be investing your whole life. You want to retire, possibly, or at least slow down. And at that point, we will help distribute the assets in the most tax-effective way. And a financial plan will be key to making sure, how do we do this? What accounts do we take from first? And what are the implications if we get it wrong? What are the implications if we get it right? So together, between your offense and your defense, this gives you a one-page 101 on financial planning. So we'll move forward to the specific aspects of a financial plan. So we just have a pretty simplistic visual on this, and it's meant to be simplistic. Cash flow management. So what do we mean by that? So, well, it should be at minimum a budget that's provided to make sure that more money is coming in the door than's going out. So that's number one. Within cash flow management, you want to make sure that the types of debt that you have, maybe it's a mortgage, a line of credit, and a credit card, that you are utilizing the lowest rate possible on your debt. So it could be some consolidation that we look at. When it comes to your mortgage, if you're one of those, and nothing wrong necessarily with it, but if you just go to the bank and you renew your mortgage, you're likely paying more than you have to. Utilizing a mortgage broker generally will bring down your rate because they have access to the whole market. So those are some examples of what we're looking for in cash flow to make sure that the cash flow is sound. When we go to risk management, we talked about it a bit before on the slide before, that's your insurance planning. So your life insurance, like we talked about, critical illness insurance planning, disability insurance. Disability insurance essentially is paycheck insurance. It helps provide you with a paycheck if you can't work. And I know it's not fun to do, but if you can do a thought experiment where you're not going to go to work for, say, the next 2 years, for most Canadians, that's going to be devastating financially. There are ways that we can help rejuvenate that income. Investment planning. So a lot of the time it will start with a risk tolerance. What a risk tolerance is just trying to get an idea of what type of investor you are. And that risk tolerance should align with the type of investments that you're going to make. Within there, we want to make sure that with the risk tolerance that, if you might come out where you're not so risky, but you could, for some advice that you might have been told, to maybe invest in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or things of those nature. I won't speak much on our feelings on that, but if you're a conservative investor, that wouldn't align. So that would be a red flag, for an example. Now, the tax planning strategies have to do a lot of the time with utilizing the right accounts. What do I mean by that? So there's a tax-free savings account. There's RRSP accounts, the accounts that I listed before. Are we utilizing those in the best way possible? For young people on the call, your goal generally will be to maximize these accounts. For those in their middle career, it can be tough to maximize these accounts because you have other expenses, kids, mortgage, lifestyle. But the idea is if we can maximize these accounts, your retirement plan will look a lot better. And that goes into the retirement planning aspect, which essentially here we're looking at what is your cash flow like if you don't work. You get to pick the age. You know, if we start this early enough, you can pick, hey, I want to see what it looks like if I retire at age 60. I want to see what it looks like if I retire at age 65. Well, what type of income are you expecting and would you like during your retirement? What are the types of things you're going to be doing in retirement that you need this type of income? And do we have enough money in the government programs that are available, like CPP, old age security? And do we have enough money that we've saved along the way that's going to provide for you that you don't have to work, but you have the same type of income as if you were working? And then estate planning, what a financial plan can do and should do is isolate what it looks like if you were to pass away, you know, at hopefully a ripe old age of either 90 or 95. What does it look like with the assets that I'm leaving behind? Who am I leaving them to? Are the designated beneficiaries set up properly? If there's taxes to pay because of the assets that I have, is there a tax efficient way to manage that tax? And the answer to that is yes, but we have to do the planning up front to make sure we get that right. So these are the 6 aspects of a financial plan. And if we go forward, Anusa, a lot of people say, well, where do I start? What do I do? And what you're going to see on the next page is you don't have to start with all of these things, okay? A financial planner will help you determine what's most important to get out. But what you're going to see, I'm not going to list them all here because everyone's going to get a copy of this, but what you're going to see is we're looking at quantitative aspects of your plan. So liquid investments, such as your investments, your TFSA and your RSP, and your non-liquid investments. So your real estate generally is the non-liquid investment. What are the contributions going on? So a lot of quantitative numbers. What type of retirement income would you like? But we also look at a lot of qualitative measures. So what's your family structure? Sometimes there's some split families. So we gotta account for these types of things. Sometimes family harmony isn't always great. And for an example, you might not be getting along with your kids. But if your kids are listed as, say, a power of attorney for your health, well, they're the ones who make decisions if you're unable to with your health. So we want to make sure that this is all aligned and that you're aware of these things and that we can help you direct you in the right path to make sure that, for an example, your powers of attorney are set up with the people that you want set up. We'll talk to you about your professional goals, philanthropic endeavors. So there might be a charity close to you that's really helped your family and you might want to be looking to give back. Well, there's some really tax effective ways to do so. Retirement lifestyle. So it's not just about the amount of money you need in retirement. It's, well, what's your lifestyle going to be? What's going to keep you busy? What's going to keep you purposeful? And we'll talk about old age security and CPP. Those are government benefits. Most people will be familiar with CPP because they see it coming off their paycheck. Your employer puts the same amount in that comes off your paycheck. Your employer puts that in as well. So there'll be some money at retirement age for you there, and also old age security. And we're actually going to take a look at an example in a couple moments as to how a financial plan could really help. And I've isolated the CPP, Canada Pension Plan, and the old age security to give you an example of what I mean by that. So if we continue on, Anusa, what you'll see is an example of a financial plan. Now, on the right-hand side is the table of contents. You can see in this case, it's a 33-page financial plan. I didn't think that anyone on the call wanted to go through line by line 33 pages. So I just gave a table of contents as to what's held within these plans. It's a snapshot on your net worth. It's a look in the future of what that net worth looks like. We're looking at cash flow today, also in retirement. And we're also looking at an estate and what it looks like with all the money going through your estate and where that's going. Now, these plans, as I said, can be long and very detailed, and they should be because it's very important to get this right. However, we've come up with a way to simplify this, and you see that on the left-hand side. Jane and John are obviously just made up names for this, so this is an example. But what we'll do is, along with a one-page financial plan, along with a financial plan, you should be looking for someone who can simplify this for you. And so an example is on the left-hand side where you see cash flow. In this example, could use a bit of work. And in this example, it's because, so I'm thinking of a specific client here. In this example, they have a line of credit and they have a credit card, and they just haven't consolidated that. They have enough room on their line of credit where they don't need any credit card debt. So that's an example of a move they can make that will increase their cash flow. We looked at the peace of mind for families. So what that is their insurance planning. In this case, they had really good insurance, so they were looking good there. The investment planning, so their risk tolerance actually did align with their investments, so that's great. Their retirement planning could use a little bit of work. They need to save a little bit more each month, and if they do, that will move to a green. Real estate, they own their own home and they actually own a cottage, and they have very little debt on both homes or both real estate, so these folks were looking good in that regard. Legal and other professionals, so do you have a will in place? A will dictates what happens to your estate after you're gone. If you don't have a will, it's the government laws that will dictate that. So you get the choice and you have control now to set up a will. With a will, most lawyers will ask about your powers of attorney. A power of attorney is assigned if you are unable to make the decisions for your own health. So usually there's a separate power of attorney for just your health. And then there's a power of attorney for your property. So they can be the same person, but it's important to make sure that you have these things set up. Estate planning. So that was, well, even if we spend the amount of money we want in retirement, there's still going to be some assets left over. My home might be left over. Who gets that? How's it going to go through my estate? Are there any taxes owed? If so, how do I mitigate the taxes? Family education. So what I mean by that is, I have it as well with my clientele, is I might only ever be able to talk to the wife about the financial plan. That is not ideal. If that's the case, I'm always asking to meet with the spouse as well. And when the kids come of age where you think that they should be involved in the conversations, one, for their own knowledge and education, but two, to know what to do in the event that mom and dad pass away, we want to make sure the kids are well taken care of and up to speed as to what's going on with mom and dad. And I talked about it before. It's more of a qualitative thing, but it should be talked about within your financial plan as to what type of lifestyle you hope to have in retirement. I was taken off guard when I first started in the career. I was helping a gentleman retire, and 6 months into his retirement, I went for a review, and to my surprise, he was pretty miserable. As I uncovered, he didn't have any plan for retirement. The first 3 weeks were great. He didn't have anything to do. But having nothing to do for a long period of time is actually not ideal. And it really got to this gentleman, and it hit me that I have to start talking about financial or your purpose in retirement. And not just me, but all financial advisors. And it should be part of the plan as to what's going to keep you busy in retirement. Is it hobbies? Is it golf? Is it picking up kids from, grandkids? Is it maybe a second job? Whatever it is, volunteering can be big. My mother, I'd have to say, does a great job of this. She's retired and she's busy every day. And so it's really important to make sure that we're looking at the qualitative side of a financial plan as well. Now, I did say that I'd bring up a concrete example of working with a financial planner who works a financial plan. And when these plans come up, I should say they're living documents. So you don't just do a financial plan in 2023 and hope it works out. You review the financial plan quite regularly, probably once a year, and you input the new information that's come to light. So it could be an inheritance that you weren't expecting. That one is bad because someone in your family's passed away, but it could help you with your retirement plan. So we might input that into the plan. Possibly there's a disability that we weren't expecting, and that could sideline plans. So we have to put that new information in to see what it looks like. So these are living documents that should be reviewed quite regularly with your planner. The concrete example I was talking about, and it's a real example that I'm working on with my two clients of mine right now. They're a married couple. It has to do with old age security and CPP. So old age security is a benefit that not everyone is aware of because we don't pay into it as Canadians. I should say we don't directly pay into it. It comes from our taxes, our tax base. So we do pay into it, but it's not directly off your paycheck. Now, old age security, the earliest you can get it is age 65. So a lot of people default to age 65, they're going to collect their old age security. Today, the most you can get, and it's based off of a calculation that if you've been in the country for 40 years, you get 100% of old age security. Been in the country for half that time, you'll get half the benefit, and so on. So today, this year, the most you can get with old age security is $691. So if you were 65, that would be the benefit you should expect if you qualify for 100% of the benefit. If you were to delay it just 1 year, it will be 7.2% more. So 0.6% a month, every month you delay. So in a whole year, that adds up to 7.2%. So if you just delay it a year, next year, you'll get 7.2% more. If you delay it a year after and a year after, you can delay it all the way until age 70. We'd have to see if it makes sense and how it affects a financial plan, but delaying it till age 70 will give you an extra 36% income starting at age 70. And that income is guaranteed from the government, and that income will be indexed. CPP is a benefit that I spoke about before that all of us will see because it comes off of our paycheck. So the formula is a bit more specific to you, how long you've been working, how much you've put in. The maximum amount you can get this year is $1,300 a month, $1,306, I should say. So where I'm going with this is the couple I'm speaking to, we're going to default and take the CPP and the old age security at age 65. Now, if they do so, the maximum you can get in today's dollars is $1,997 between CPP and old age security. So almost $2,000. If they wait till age 70, they will get almost $2,800. So about another $800 a month, and that's times 2. So about $1,600 a month. Now, there is a break-even calculation because if you think about it, if you wait to 70, you will have more money on a monthly basis, but you didn't get any money for the first 5 years. So at age 70, if you're getting more money, but you didn't get any for the first 5 years, the break-even point is age 78. So what's that mean? What that means is if you live past age 78, it was everything else frozen. The only variable we're looking at is delaying. If you delay to age 70, by age 78, you will have made a good decision. So that's why it's not for everyone. If health is a concern, maybe you don't delay. But if you think you're going to make it past age 78, a lot of the times it would make sense to delay. What that does is that increases your income, in this example, by about $800 a month for each couple. If this couple lives till 90, each of them, because that extra 800 is indexed each year, each of them will walk away with an extra $145,000 in their retirement. So when you add it together, it's pretty close to $300,000 that this couple would get just by delaying government benefits. There are some advantages for your tax-free savings account and your RRSP in doing so. I'm not going to get in the details on this, but it could even add more to the number that I just spoke about. So I just wanted to give you a concrete example of why a financial plan can be very important, and to be working with someone who is well versed in this to help put more money in your pocket during retirement. Anusa, I feel like I am close, if not over my time, so I'll send it back to you to see if we have some questions.
Well, thank you very much, Kyle, and providing a lot of great information. And now that we all have had a chance to learn more about the importance of having a financial plan, it's time to open the floor to your questions. So please feel free to type any more questions you may have into the chat, and we will do our best to address as many as possible. All right, so the first question, Kyle. What are some potential obstacles or challenges people may face when trying to stick to their financial plan, and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So these financial plans, they don't know what's going on in reality on the ground. They don't know if you're going to get sick. They don't know if you have a parent that falls ill, that unexpected. They don't know if as a young person you're trying to have a baby and the child you have has a disability that's going to take extra funds, right? So really, Anusa, we can't do much about reality. Reality is going to happen. All we can do is we can take the inputs and we can put them into the plan to see how they've affected us. And then is there anything we can do about it? If it's taken us off path, what can we do about it? And sometimes we'll just have to be real about it and say, hey, listen, I wanted to spend X amount in retirement. Because these things happen in my life, it's going to have to be a little bit lower. But usually there's a backstop that I see in a lot of plans, and that's real estate, Anusa. So if you think about it, you're 75 years old and you don't have as much money as you were hoping, but you might be in a $1 or $2 million real estate with no mortgage. There's still a lot we can do with that.
Okay, that's great. Someone did mention a comment, great example with the tangible money between the CPP getting it versus at age 70 versus age 65. So they did enjoy your example.
Okay.
The next question, how does one strike a balance between short-term financial goals like paying off debt and long-term goals such as retirement planning within their financial plan?
That's a good question as well. And a lot of Canadians do this without even knowing they're really doing it. So what I mean by that, Anusa, is a lot of people have a mortgage, okay? That's a short-term need because every month or every 2 weeks, money's coming out of your account and you're technically paying down debt. But instead of putting all of your money in your mortgage and paying down debt, a lot of Canadians and folks on this call might have a retirement plan at work. And so you can do both. And I think in the question was, how do you strike the balance? The answer is in the question, and it's a balance. The right balance we'd have to figure out together, but it really is a balance where you pay off debts and you focus on the long term as far as the investments. And if you're saving up for something like a cottage or children's education where it's not as long term, well, there's solutions to that as to how to go about that. A financial planner would know. So for the folks on the call, reach out to your financial planner. But essentially both can be done, but the answer's in the question, which is balance.
Great, thank you. And I think we might have time for one more question. The question is, are there any options or precautions that could or should be taken when planning for retirement to ensure the government doesn't claw back CPP, old age security pensions, as a high income senior?
CPP will be added to your income and it doesn't get clawed back. So you could make $1 million in retirement, your CPP will still be sent to you. However, CPP is taxable. So if you're in a very high tax bracket, your CPP is going to be taxed at that high tax bracket. The old age security is a little more nuanced. What you can do there is a couple different things. We just talked about delaying it to age 70. Well, where does the money come from if you retire at 65? Well, where it might come from, Anusa, is you take more out of your RSP for the first 5 years. What that's going to do is it's going to lower your RSP. So when you are taking out money later on, there's not as much money in the RSP because you have a higher amount of old age security and CPP. You're okay with that because you've delayed to age 70. The last thing I would say is not to overlook the tax-free savings account. Because when you're older and you take money out of your RSP, which will turn into a RIF or any type of pension plan, that will get added to your income. And over in today's dollars, it's about 88,000 or so. Anything over that, you start to lose some of that old age security. But if you took the exact same amount of dollars from a tax-free savings account, it does not get added to your income. You don't pay tax on the tax-free savings account, and you restore your old age security. So my direct answer to that, Anusa, would be looking at a tax-free savings account and how that can really be beneficial in retirement, especially with old age security.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. Well, we just hit the end of our webinar. Thanks again, Kyle, for your valuable insight. Should anyone else have any more questions, feel free to shoot us an email at retirement@penmorebenefits.com, and I'll put that into the chat for everyone as well. But it's been a pleasure having you all here today. Until next time, take care and stay financially savvy. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.